How I break my fast every single day. It includes a steak. It includes a hot cast iron pan. It includes a sharp knife, a cutting board with a little ridge for the juices to flow, some butter, a knife, and a fork. Every day, without fail, I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. I'm going to show you the exact cooking technique every single time. Some of the things that I've learned, even when I knew how to cook a steak, after cooking literally hundreds of steaks at this point, using the same technique, some of the things that I learned, those little nuances that you figure out only when you've been doing it over and over and over again. And this is a technique that I highly recommend you practice. Maybe even consider getting a few different steaks of different cut sticks or different producers and cooking them one after another and then tasting and testing. Did you use too much salt, too little? Do you want to try some pepper? Did you preheat your pan enough? Did you not heat it enough? Did you let it rest too long, too short? Did you put it in the oven after because it was thicker? Did you use an internal thermometer? Did you do by touch? If you can take a steak and cook it in a cast iron pan and then do the things you need to do, like letting it rest and do all those things, and then slice into it. It's beautifully either medium rare, pink, whatever you like. And then you eat it, and the juices go everywhere. You have, in my opinion, the most integral skill for long-term health and well-being, because you can now break your fast every day with this steak, or you could have steak for dinner every day, or you could have steak for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, whatever you want to do. Steak is one of the healthiest, most complete nutrient profiles on the planet. It is one of the best foods. And you can watch plenty of my other videos. So let's get into some B-roll footage in the kitchen cooking my steak. This is what I do every single time. Breaking a fast starts inside the grocery store. Here we are looking for some wild-caught salmon. I actually love slow baking this. This is super simple, 250 degrees, 45 minutes in the oven, some salt, amazing. It's my favorite way to do salmon. And now I make my way over to the meat counter where I found my favorite Heb Grass-Fed Steaks. These are some of the best steaks in the world. I cannot believe I got lucky to move out to the country to find this nearby. And so these are the ribeyes. They're usually $14 to $15. And then the strips are usually like $9 to $10. They're usually a little bit smaller. I do a mix of each. And whatever I have in the fridge is what I use. They had a good deal on this. This was like $14 for 32 ounces of grass-fed ground. These are the sirloins I get. They're not as flavorful, but they're still tasty. And then, of course, the ribeyes are the best. Delicious. $15 for this baby right here. That's a perfect way to break a fast. So now we're back in the kitchen. We got the steak. We're going to take it out of the package. We're going to pat it super dry. It's very important to pat it dry. I got my salt, wild kosher flake salt, which you can get at wildfoods.co. I got my sheet pan with my rack and my pepper. This is how I start my fast every day. So I pat this baby dry, get as much moisture off as possible so that that doesn't interfere with the sear. And obviously I'm doing this with one hand while recording, so not as good. Usually let that sit for a sec. Now the most important thing is to preheat your pan. I put it on all the way on high. I let it sit there for about 3 to 5 minutes. And then here I'm actually spraying with avocado oil each side a little bit. And then I'm gonna place it when it's nice and hot right in the pan. 2 minutes per side. Add a little bit of avocado on the other side. Ghee is good as well if you don't want to do any plants. Then I don't touch it. It sits in the pan. I'm going for about 2 minutes to get that nice sear. It's on still super high heat. So I got this all the way cranked up. And keep an eye on it. And then I flip it and I got that nice, beautiful crust. That's what you're going after. Nice, beautiful crust. And if you do peppercorns, I love a good peppercorn crust. Key is to use enough salt, enough peppercorns. And then finally, after each side is about 2 minutes, I'm going to finish with a butter base. I'm going to throw in about a tablespoon or two. I'm going to lower the heat so the butter doesn't burn. And you want the butter bubbling that way, right? And so it's kind of hard to do this filming in one hand. So normally what I would do is grab the handle and I would I would tip the pan so that all the butter pools at the bottom. And then I would take my spoon and I would start just slathering that butter all over that steak. And so here I'm trying to do a one-hand version where I flip it and flip it and flip it. Not as effective though. But you're going for about a 30-second butter baste. Get it all covered. Get more of that crust from the butter. The butter will actually keep developing the crust, which is really cool. And yeah, look at this. Really struggling to get any butter without tipping the pan. So I guess you need a cameraman for something like this. But you get the idea. Now I'm going to take it out of the pan, put it on a rack. Very important to put it on a rack so that you got airflow on all sides. And I'm going to pour over some of that butter over the steaks before I cover. And then I cover, let that rest for 5 minutes. They've rested. Now it's time to slice. Got my trusty 6-inch Global Chef's knife, super hot. I made a little bit of a pan sauce. And I'm going to pull this off. You can still see it's still seaming. You want them to be hot, so keep them covered. It's important. Use foil or a lid. And I'm going to take this off. I'm going to find the grain, and I'm going to try to kind of cut a little bit at an angle to the grain. You can also do a dias cut where you kind of go at an angle. And then you can see it's a little bit more cooked than I prefer, but this was a thin steak and I was trying to record at the same time. So still delicious though. And here I'm going to go and start eating. And I do trim the fat off, mostly just to watch my calorie and fat intake. And I dip each bite into the delicious pan sauce. I forgot to pour the rest of the pan drippings on, so you want to do that as well. Pour the rest of the pan drippings into the sauce, stir it up. And this is how I break my fast every single day. It's delicious, it's satisfying, doesn't fill me up or make me feel lethargic after. It's just a perfect human fuel. It's just so delicious. And I believe I'm making a plate here for Allison and cutting it up a little bit because she is postpartum. Either that or she's about to be have our son. I forget when I recorded this. I think we recorded this before Rowan came into the world. Hey, Colin here. Got a freebie for you. Click on the button below to go to the ancestralmind.com and download the 7 Principles of Living Wild. This is a short PDF that's got some of the main principles such as real food, sleep, movement, and a couple more that are going to help you live more ancestrally in accordance with your genes.